All right, thank you everyone who's joined us today for this webinar all about creating orders in Edelweiss. My name's Eve Dunn and I'm Client Success Associate here in Edelweiss UK. So we have a short presentation for you today, which will be followed by a demo video. Dan has already put this in the chat, but if you have questions at any point, feel free to drop them in the chat. Or if you'd rather go anonymously, you can put them in the Q&A section. So let's get started. So first of all, what is Edelweiss? I'm sure a lot of you are familiar, but for those of you who aren't, it's a central hub in the book industry for book professionals. So it's a platform used by publishers, booksellers, reviewers, and bloggers. And as a bookseller, its primary focus is as a platform for you to do your front list ordering with publishers. But of course, you can also create and send newsletters with Edelweiss 360, and you can work collaboratively using the tools and Edelweiss community, which I know a lot of you used recently to vote in the BA Christmas Books Catalogue. It was established in America a couple of decades ago by the son of an independent bookseller, and its goal was to allow indie booksellers to see above the tree line, as it were, using data and bibliographic information to get the most out of their buying experiences. But why order through Edelweiss? So of course, there's that point that all your publishers are in one place on Edelweiss. You don't have to have a different process for each publisher, and you can connect with your reps there. And there's the aforementioned wealth of data and analytics data from your own POS, and you can share information with colleagues while buying. So you might see a book that you want to use for an upcoming event or a general promotion in the bookshop, and you can make note of that. And of course, you can easily export your orders into your POS system, so there's no need for a big list of ISBNs or a stack of paper at the end of a sub. We will be looking a little bit at the use of analytics in the demo, but you don't actually need analytics or be needing to sending in your POS data to buy in Edelweiss. And who's on Edelweiss? So this is a lot of the publishers on Edelweiss. It's not all of them, and we have new signups each month. So these are a lot of the people that you'll see catalogues from on the platform. And of course, publishers wouldn't be there if there was no booksellers. So there is 14,000 UK and Irish accounts on Edelweiss, just user accounts. And there's about 1,100 book buying organizations. So that's anything from bookshops, museums, garden centers, and so on. We have about 300 bookshops contributing to that data pool anonymously, which allows you to see that bestsellers information. And how does working with your rep work? So you obviously connect with your rep in Edelweiss, but you can't add them, as we don't want reps having or sharing markups to people they don't actually have accounts with. So we have an initiative called Edelweiss Introductions, which means we can send out an email to a list of reps and say, this person's on Edelweiss, this is their specialty, this is a general idea of their inventory, and could you start sharing catalogues to them? You can work remotely or in person with your rep. There is a misconception that Edelweiss doesn't allow so much for that rep part of the process, but that's just not true. What Edelweiss is about is making sure you have as much information as possible during and after the meeting, so you know exactly what you've bought, and you can focus on the more important conversation with your reps. So this could be events, perhaps there's a local author coming around that they'd like to talk to you about. You're not having to scroll through and read a lot of information about every book. It just allows you to be a better buyer. So a little bit of a glossary for you. So I'll be using a lot of these phrases, and markup is kind of interchangeable with catalog, but the difference is markup is a catalog that has been edited by a rep with some of these features. So a comparable title, which is a title that has some relevance to the title you're looking at buying. So it might be the paperback version of a hardback book. A priority is the way a rep can set a book, so they might highlight it to show you this is one that's worth looking at. And a tag can be a buzzword that the rep uses to give a key piece of information about that book. So for example, hashtag or little tag local. And a collection is a more niche list of books that can be created by your rep. So they might get a general catalogue, but from that they might pull some ISBNs and make a smaller collection to share to a bookshop that is solely children's, for example. So on to the demo. I'm going to start sharing my video, but as said at the beginning, if you have questions at any point, please do drop them in the chat and Dan will be happy to answer. Okay.
Today we're going to be looking at effective ordering in Edelweiss. Now, of course, something being effective is going to look different for everyone, but we are going to start by adding a couple of widgets. So widgets give you easy access to a particular tool or place in Edelweiss. So we're going to go to the add widget icon over here, and under Catalogues you'll see on your work list. And another one under Catalogues that's very useful is Bookmarked. We'll see these in use later in the demo. Some of the default ones are also really helpful. So we have recently viewed, which allows you to keep track of what you've been looking at. And I'd recommend you go through the publisher list widget and star the publishers that you find yourself working with a lot. Of course, make sure you're looking at the UK ones. We'll see how that comes into effect later as well. It's also worth noting that if you go to your profile up here and under your profile and account and publisher contacts, you can see every publisher that has added you as a contact in Edelweiss, which means you'll be able to have markups shared to you. Obviously, I've been on Edelweiss for a while and I have quite a lot, and you'll also find your colleagues on here, so whoever else is on your account. We mentioned Edelweiss introductions in the presentation, so please do reach out about that if you'd like to be connected with your reps, but as explained, you can't add them. So now let's talk about where you can find catalogues or markups. You can see in this notification widget that I've been shared a few markups and that's where they're showing, and that's also going to be in the main notifications menu up here. And I could go to the publisher list to go to the publisher pages, but I'm going to go another route there and I'm going to go to publishers and I'm going to search for some. So it's already up there, but I'm going to go to Penguin, making sure it's UK. And here we can see every catalogue that they've posted. And this is just a featured catalogue. So actually there's all these folders that have their backlist, their indie ones, and spring and children's, etc. So indies is something that you'd be wanting to take a look at. But these are just the catalogues, so you can actually see up here that there's markups, and these are the ones that reps have actually added notes, tags, and priorities to. It's also worth noting at this point that what you see is heavily based on your market. So under the Edelweiss logo, you can see that I'm set to UK trade and UK English. If I was to set it to US trade, this would look completely different. Most, if not all, of these catalogues wouldn't be here. So that's just something to always keep in mind if you've been shared a catalogue and you just can't access it, or your rep keeps saying, I've shared you a catalogue, and you think, well, I don't see it. It could be the case that you're accidentally in the US trade or the Australian or something like that. So now we're going to head over to the catalogues page, which is the dedicated page for catalogues and collections. You can see that it immediately went over to shared with you, because this is where I'm often going to get my markups directly. But there's also favourite publishers, which are those ones that I showed you as starred earlier, and there's all publishers as well. So I'm going to go back to shared with you and we can start to take a look at how we can begin this process. If you're really into organising, you can use the folders icon here and organise your catalogues and markups that way. But we're going to start by just adding this one to our work list. So this is the catalogue we're going to be working from, or the markup I should say. It is what I've created, it's not from an actual publisher, but it does use real books. So I'm going to go ahead and star that, and that's now on my work list. So let's take a look at this catalogue. So here we are. The first thing to note is that I am working from the new list view, which is using improved technology to allow for a better buying experience. It's a lot less clunky than the old view, and you all will have the toggle, or should have the toggle at the top right of your screen here, and I'd recommend you switch it on. Another thing to reiterate is that this is a markup that I've created, so any deals or offers don't reflect that of the actual publisher. But let's just jump in. So here we have the title of the markup up here, and if I expand that, I can see all the details and the overview, and you can also see that it is on my work list. There's folders here and copy, but you can also see subscribe. So you can subscribe to a catalogue, which means you'll be notified of any additions or changes to it. This is useful for a really big catalogue, so something maybe like a big PRH catalogue, maybe something like the Select, and just allows you to keep updated when something changes. Here we have the display view, so this is the general catalogue view and it actually allows you to buy, whereas grid view gives you a glance at all the titles, but you can't actually order from this view. Up here we have filters, which we'll go into depth later, and here we have sort, which allows you to sort the catalogue in any way you like. Of course, you should be looking at it in the catalogue sequence initially because this is how the publisher has laid it out, but it is useful because you can go to here and sort it by analytics. So you might want to see the titles that have been ordered the most by your peers, and you'd press that one to do so. The analytics information is available on every title on this green band here, and you can select the analytics preference up here. So my market is UK indie booksellers, but if you're an Irish bookshop or a Welsh bookshop or a Scottish bookshop, you can pick one of these here, or maybe you're a London bookshop and you want to stick to that market. And of course you can go to current month, and if you have multiple locations you can select which location you're looking at there, but of course we're just one shop. The top 5 options to the left of each title are actions I can take on the title. So it looks like tags is already expanded, but I could close that and open that back up. And this might be a book that I think would be perfect for book club. So I'm just going to add book club there. And this is a tag that is shared with all my colleagues, so all of them will see that as well. I could add it to a shelf. So let's say we're anticipating this one. And onto here I could also add it to a collection or collaborative list. And of course we have reviews, and down here we can create a PDF, export it to file, or send an email, and so on. Under those elements we have everything else that makes up the title. So we have the markup, which is the highlighted priority here, tags, notes, and the comps. But of course we have the summary, marketing content, contributor bios, quotes, and key selling points. But this is a bit loud, and especially if you're going through a huge catalogue, it will be very time consuming to read all of this, or even just to scroll through all of it. So you could collapse them one by one through here, but this is actually where preferences comes in. Here we have all of the visibility preferences. So this would show me any titles that the publisher has chosen to skip because they might not feel it's relevant to my shop. And expanding catalogue view refers to this section here. But the ones you want to pay most attention to are title visibility preferences and marketing content visibility preferences. I'd recommend you have a good think about this and you find the way which works the best for you as you're working through a catalogue. But to start with, I'm going to go ahead and look at marketing content. So overall, this is toggled on, but of course a lot of things come under marketing content. So I'm going to thin this out a bit. And for now, I'm just going to have the key selling points and summary. You can take a look here too. And right now I'm seeing all comps, not just the highlighted ones. So generally publishers start off with a list of default comps, and then the rep will go through and highlight the ones that they think are relevant to you. And you might want to only see those ones, in which case you toggle that on. Let's take a look what this looks like now though. So it's a much easier view, and especially if I have my rep with me going through this order, I might not even need to refer to a lot of that as I'll have a conversation with them about it. But of course there's nothing stopping you expanding one of the elements if you do find a title that you'd like to know a bit more about. So here I can just have a look at the contributor bio, and I can make the text bigger here if I need to. So now that we're happy with the view we have our catalogue in, we can take a look at using the information to make an informed buying decision. So we have the note from our rep, which generally is going to be a quicker summary of the book and any key information they want to get across to you. And the tags give me buzzwords or keywords about the title. So it's good to know that there's signed copies of this one. And we can see here that it's been compared to The Secret History. So that's been added as a comp, which The Secret History we've sold 7 of in our lifetime. You can see lots of information with the comps, and all you need to do is hover over one of the elements to see exactly what it's referring to. So this is the sales after the first 3 months, inventory after the first 3 months, lifetime sales, last year sales, on hand and on order. Of course, generally the most helpful comps are going to be different editions of the same book. So say this was a paperback, we'd want to see the hardback of this title, and that's going to really help us know whether we should be buying the paperback of it. I can have a read through the summary, and again, if my rep's with me, we can discuss. And let's say I want to go ahead and order one of these. So we can see here that we have the order box here, a quantity box, and it also says that we've previously ordered this. This is because obviously this is not a real catalogue, and this is from present in a different catalogue. If I press previously ordered, I can see exactly when that order was created and what the order was called, and I can click to it there. But how do we create a new one? Well, all you need to do is go to all orders combined up here and go to create new order. You can see there's a few basic elements to fill out, like the order name, the PO number, and your discount if you know it. But I wouldn't worry too much about these elements here. But we do have advanced options which allows you to bind a catalogue to a certain publisher. So for example, if I go here, I can see all of my active orders. If I was to bind this to a particular publisher, that order would not show up unless I was looking at one of their catalogues or markups. So I'm going to start by naming it, and it's a good idea to generally name it what the catalogue is called. So let's call this Sensational Summer Books, and we'll add the month. A really important part of this screen is the reps, all of my reps, and I can share the order with them to let them know that I've got started on it. So I'm going to go to Edelweiss UK, and I'm going to share with Eve Publisher Done. So immediately that has shared the order with them, but if I want to tick that, I can send an email to say that this is in progress. You don't necessarily have to do this step, you might just want to let them know once the order is completed, but it is good for transparency. And you could add a little note if you wanted, but I'm simply going to say that this order is in progress and there's no action required. That's just going to send that email. You'll see at the end that it's pretty much the exact same process to share the order at the end, but of course we'll just be ticking order completed instead of in progress. So that email has been sent. And now you can see that the quantity box is orange and I can actually begin adding to it. So I'm going to say I want to get one of these, and I don't need to scroll to the next title, I can simply press tab, and here we are. I might want to take a look at the on order information for this one. So 13% have this on order, which is actually pretty good. So the later you get to a catalogue, the richer the analytics information is going to be. So if I was working on an August catalogue in August, of course there's going to be a lot of information, but if you're really on it with your front list ordering, you might not see a lot for one that you're working in for September. I'm going to go ahead and get 3 of these because I can see that there's an offer for free for 55%. So you could start to go through the whole catalogue now and tab to each title. But you also might want to take a look at filtering. So that's back up here and we can see all the various filters we have. So markup filter is an interesting one because I could go to rep priorities and look at all the highlighted and featured ones because these are obviously ones that my rep thinks are worth a particular look at. And now we have all of the ones that have some kind of priority attached. I could remove all those filters again and go back up here and take a look at all the ones with tags. So there's 2 that have, or there's actually 3 that have an offer on them. So I could go ahead and select those and just order from all the ones with the offers. And maybe I want to get some POS, so I'd go ahead and select those ones as well. And there's actually review copy format filters. So it looks like there's 7 titles with an Edelweiss reader review copy attached. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And now I could actually read this title to get a better idea of whether I want it in my shop. And of course it's going to make for much better hand selling. So let's go ahead and find a children's book. So here we have one here. And I could go ahead and simply press that. And here we have the title. We can click through it and just begin to read this picture book. You can also see spreads here, which you can click to view. But of course we do have a DRC for this one, which means we could read the entire book, but this is very helpful generally. I'm going to go and remove all filters again, and this time I'm going to add a saved filter. So maybe you're primarily a children's bookshop, and I have a saved filter up that is specifically for children. So I'm going to find that here and just click onto it. You can see that if I went to filter here, you could see that under thema there is children's, but it's split into several different ones, which is useful if you're looking for a very specific type of title, but the saved filter works better as an overall selection. So here we have these titles, which I might start to build on. And if there's a title you're not quite sure about whether it's right for your shop, you might want to put a 0 there. So if you leave a quantity box empty, you've just not included it in the order. 0 still includes it. So we'll see what that looks like at the end of the order. I'm going to tab to the next couple of ones. We can see another DRC here, and a continue tabbing and adding quantities. And here you can see that there's a number beside the quantity box. Now this is a suggested order. They're not used all that much, but if your rep knows you really well, then you might find them particularly useful. So they're suggesting that I should get 5 of this title. And if I look at the comps for this, we've sold a lot of them. They're one of our most popular series in the shop. So I might go ahead and accept that, or I might even want more, but let's just click that to accept that order. And Frog and Toad, can't go wrong with a bit of Frog and Toad, so I'm going to add 1 in there. And there's no need to save at any point, but if you are working on a particularly big order, you might want to bookmark it for later. So all I need to do is press this, and it will immediately take me out of the order, and I can go back to whatever I'm doing. But then when I go back to that order, you can see it's on my bookmark widget. If I just click right back into that, it's going to immediately take me to that title, and I still have my filters on. I'm going to remove the filters again and take a look at how this order is doing in the Orders tab up here. So you have 2 sections, active and completed orders, and obviously this will be sitting in the active ones. So here we have it. I can look at the order notification history, so I did share that to say it was in progress. And if I click onto it, I'll be able to see exactly what I've ordered. And I might want to look at this in grid view to get sort of a quick glance and recall what I've ordered here. But we can also go and have a look to the one that we entered a 0 before and decide, okay, actually we do want one of these, or we don't. If I didn't, I'd just leave that empty and that would update, but I do want one, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. So of course this is primarily for front list ordering, but you can actually build on your order if you have Edelweiss Analytics. So I'm going to go to that page, and let's say we were working on a Pan Mac order that time. So there we have Pan Macmillan, and maybe I want to go to children's as well. So let's make sure that's done to children too. And now I'm going to take a look at the orange part of the pie chart, which is showing me those titles that aren't in stock. I might select a couple of these, so let's say we definitely want Goodnight Moon in, and I'm just going to click on the title presentation, and you'll see that along these options here there's also orders. So I can go to orders here, and it's already on that latest order, and I can just add a quantity. And this is a way that you can build up the order and making sure you're getting the best books for your shop. But of course you don't have to do this if you're just creating front list orders. Now that I'm done with that order, I'm going to go back to the orders page, share with my rep again, and this time I'm going to say order completed. And I'm just going to say try my luck a bit, but you want to let them know that you definitely want those signed copies and those POS and whatever else you need to get across. This is of course if you're not working in person with your rep for this particular sub. I'm going to go ahead and press save, and it's going to send that email. So that email is sent. And all I need to do is download the export of this order. So I'm using Batchline for this example, and it's set to Batchline manual order, which is the correct format to import. And I'm going to download this file, and I will import that into Batchline. Now I can complete this order, and that order has been marked as completed, but it's still here so that anyone in the shop can be caught up on what we're ordered. And that's also what's happening with the POS import. So because that's in my POS system, it means that everyone can start assigning pre-orders when needed, and they can also check what's been ordered, so everyone is fully informed. So I'm going to go back to the catalogues page now and just take this one off our work list, and we're all done with that order. Just going to remind everyone now that if you go to the question mark symbol up here, that will take you right to our support centre, where you'll find help documentation on every part of the buying process. You can go to the bookseller training page, go to orders here, or you can just start searching. You can also contact us here, and our support team is always very happy to help.
All right, well, thanks for watching, everyone. I will say about the POS imports, obviously I didn't show the process because I don't have each system on my laptop, but there is help documents and videos for each one, and we're always very happy to help. The same goes for demos, so if you or a colleague feel you'd benefit from a one-to-one demo with buying or any aspect of Edelweiss, please do reach out to us and we can get that arranged. I didn't see any questions in the Q&A section, but I will just say, I am aware of time, but I will just say you may have noticed the categories in the buying screen. So essentially you can map your POS categories to any category in Edelweiss, which means when you import that order, it will already know which category it's supposed to be in. So there's no having to set each category for any new book that's being imported. Okay, I think unless anyone has any questions, I'm going to end the webinar. So thanks again for joining, and this will be recorded, so we'll put it on our YouTube and Facebook.